A native Californian, I know, who moved to the Triangle 8 years ago and is an energy and sustainability manager at Cisco Systems. Please welcome to the stage, Jordan Hart-White.
Hello, we're going to see how many things I can hold in my hand at once. And it was a great transition to my talk, Angel, so thank you. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about one of my passions and things that I get to work on, which is green buildings. So this image really resonated with me because I don't spend a lot of time outside. I don't know about you guys, but I spend a lot of time looking outside. And as beautiful it is outside and as healthy as it is, sometimes our built environment isn't quite that healthy. And so it's my dream and hope, working in the commercial real estate business, that we can make our indoor environment as clean as the outside so that we can live as healthy and sustainable lives as possible. So speaking of green roofs and green walls, I think this is what people think of when they think of green buildings. And I kind of just wanted to level set us all on what green buildings actually are, because a lot of it is more than just this and really cool modern architecture. So green buildings are essentially buildings that help conserve resources. That could be energy, that could be water, that could be greenhouse gas emissions. It could be buildings with solar panels on the roofs or ones that are powered by renewable energy like wind farms. It could also be buildings that are zero waste, that use composting or have durables in the office. It could be buildings that are built with renewable materials or materials from sustainable forests, for example. And most often, they have good indoor air quality. You guys may have heard of MERV filters or HEPA filters. When COVID first hit, things that we're implementing in airplanes. A lot of green buildings implement these technologies as well. And essentially, green buildings really are focused on improving the quality of life of the occupants during the design, the construction, and the actual occupation phase. So this cheesy hallmark image is, I think, what all of us want life to look like. And I truly believe that green buildings have an opportunity to help us live that kind of life. So green buildings, as I've shared, really help reduce the negative environmental impacts that are often associated with what is called sick building syndrome, and they help optimize the positive benefits of being inside. Green buildings help people live this life because they help mitigate stress and burnout that a lot of us feel when we work in indoor environments. But green buildings also have a financial benefit to the companies that operate these buildings, in case any of you operate buildings like I do. So by doing some things like improving indoor air quality, increasing natural light, and actually adding greenery to buildings, it can help reduce absenteeism, help people actually come back into the office. It can help increase productivity as high as 30% for your occupants. It reduces turnover, in some cases reducing the turnover rate by a third and increasing hiring rate to twice as much as it was previously. And it can additionally reduce medical costs. If you have really high indoor air quality, some of your occupants that have asthma won't be as likely to get sick. They can come into the office more frequently. And so as in my job at Cisco, I'm focused on greening our operations through a couple of green building certifications called LEED, and I'll talk about WELL in a second. So LEED is one of the older green building certifications out there. You guys may have seen these plaques when you enter buildings. It's been around since the 90s, and it's really focused on the built environment. So indoor air quality, energy, water, greenhouse gas emissions. And at Cisco, I'm helping to build a really cool building in Atlanta. It's going to be a showcase site for us, and we're going for LEED Platinum at that site. And we really focused from the startups. That was choosing a site that was good for our occupants. So that was choosing a site in a downtown location so people could go to the grocery store, or they could go to lunch and go to the post office and then come back to work, getting there with public transportation. We're also designing the building so it has a 28% savings in energy and a 30% water savings compared to comparable buildings. And we're also really excited because we're integrating some Cisco technology that actually has indoor air quality sensors, so you can see what the quality of the air is in the room before you enter it and make that decision whether you're comfortable to go into that room. And we're also getting WELL certified. WELL is a newer certification since I'd say the early aughts, and it's focused on, just like the name implies, well building and building designs that are people-first spaces. So we are pursuing WELL Gold Standard at our Atlanta office, and WELL includes things like focusing on natural light. If you have an increased amount of natural light and less artificial light, you don't mess up with people's circadian rhythms. They can go to sleep at night, which is kind of a crazy concept. We have healthy vegetables in the office, right? So if there's fruits and vegetables, whole food, foods that you're eating, you're less likely to have that 3 p.m. crash that we all get. It's having furniture like sit-stand desks, so you have less ergonomic injuries throughout the day. And it's also having really cool benefits like mother's rooms or reflections rooms, a plethora of outdoor space for you to go take a break, nap pods so you can take naps, fitness classes, mental well-being classes. We're doing all of this in our Atlanta office, and all of this is encompassed in this well building certification. So I hope you guys are as inspired by the future as I see it of real estate and the opportunities there are to build spaces that are real people first, and help support the planet as well. So thank you guys.
You've got questions about sustainability in real estate and buildings. We've got your answers. We've got our first question coming way back in the middle here. I'm coming. I got little legs. All right, here we go.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. I'm super curious. It's like always really great to hear about like new buildings that are being built and kind of seeing how great they are. But I'm wondering how you think about the existing buildings, how to either retrofit them, replace them, or even like convince whatever like inhabitant of that building that it's worth the cost in the long run to replace it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So at Cisco, we actually do not build new buildings as almost a rule, very rarely. So we retrofit buildings most often. And I say a good example of this is our New York office. We're in Penn Station, which if you ever walk by is a fairly old building, old for New York standards. And it's not a great energy efficient building, to be perfectly honest. And so we are pursuing LEED certification there, but we've had to get really creative about ways that we can pursue the certification without relying on energy necessarily. So it's talking about building materials, right? So trying to have low VOCs, volatile organic compounds, right? It's working on water efficiency. It's doing other things that can make your building sustainable, not just energy-wise. But we do a lot of work with landlords as well and trying to make the case, right? If we install this new HVAC system, it'll pay back itself in 10 years, and the system can last 50, for example. But it is tough, and that is a challenge we face. But yeah, we do a lot of retrofitting as well, and that's definitely an important part.
Next question coming here from the gentleman.
Hi. So I know you mentioned that you work with companies with their buildings during occupation to make sure that they're complying with LEED certification. I wonder if during the construction of these buildings, if you do anything, work with them in any way to make sure that they're protecting the environment, like Bandwidth in Northwest Raleigh right now, or other large-scale developments that are currently under construction.
Sorry, clarification question. By Bandwidth, what do you mean? Can you clarify that?
The company Bandwidth in
Oh,
Raleigh's
the company
building
Bandwidth. Apologies.
Building their new campus.
Went right over my
5
head.
Arena.
So I primarily work within our Cisco portfolio, so not with too many other groups, unfortunately. I am trying to influence the Hub project to get LEED neighborhood development, and now that I've said it publicly, maybe we can make it happen. So TBD on that one.
All right, other questions about building world over here to my left.
So I was just wondering, have you seen any data where with this kind of concept of the sustainability in your building, has it made more folks go on site compared to being just remote?
So we're really struggling with that, and part of Cisco's technology is we sell WebEx, which is a great alternative to Zoom. I highly recommend it. Very secure. Salespeople would love me to say that. And so yes, we sell technology. We've always been a company that lets people work remotely. And so we are hoping that these green building certifications are kind of an incentive. It's a nice place to work, right? Everyone wants to work in a building with lots of light and cool fitness classes during the day and really healthy, ingenious food, right? Not things that you can microwave. So we're making it kind of like a differentiating factor that our buildings are these really exciting, healthy places to come into. So we're working on it.
Other questions? All right, we're going all the way to the back row here. All the way back. All the way back.
Hi, thank you for doing this presentation. As somebody who does cost models comparing buildings with LEED certification compared to regular buildings, they're regularly 50% to twice as much expensive as a regular office building or whatever facility that you need. Is this something that only most affluent companies can afford, or what do you see that is making this more affordable? Because right now, LEED construction is not affordable for majority of companies.
Yeah, so what I've heard is the pushback is largely on the certification costs, which can be pricey depending on how big your project is. And so at Cisco, I can only speak to what we're doing, and that is we're really embedding LEED into our baseline. So you have to build to the LEED certified standard. And so that's having more environmental product declarations from our products. That's making our constructions team document waste and figure out how to get at least 5 materials recycled. So we've really embedded it into our practices, but that is a common problem. That certification is costly. But what we have found at Cisco is that if we do not get it certified, we often miss building the building to the correct standard. So we find that certification is paramount to actually reaching that. But we do know it's a problem and costly, but we try to make that ROI case that it can pay for itself in as few years as possible.
All right, we've got time for one more question if anyone has one. All right, coming to you right on the aisle here.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what do you think digital technologies are in the role of green building. So, for example, things like sensors and Internet of Things. You touched on them briefly. Do you think like they're going to be an integral part of green buildings, or do you think they're just like there are other fundamental, more challenging issues they have to tackle with green buildings first? I
think there's definitely a role for them. Cisco sells some of them. But I think the example I gave around sensors is really helpful. So we have some, I'm blanking on the name of our exact technology, but some technology in our conference rooms that can figure out how many people are in the room, what is the air quality of the room, and it can display that so people can make the decisions, particularly in like times right now where there's diseases going around, right, if you want to enter that space. And so things like that are really helpful. It's also figuring out ways to integrate that into some of your base building systems, like your HVAC, right? So if you know that you have a huge group coming in, you're going to have a lot of people that might be carrying things, you might increase the amount of outdoor air that your system brings in. So I think it's very important, and it's important to get those sensors connected to the base building so that it can automatically do these updates when the needs arises. But yes, definitely a place for that.
All right, give it up for Jordan Hart-White.